Hello, my name is Anthony Barogas, and this is a review of the Nikon P7700. This is a compact travel zoom camera with focus on, pun intended, image quality. Now, the reason we're talking about this camera is because it shoots movie, as most cameras do, and it has a mic input. So does it compare against larger cameras? Now, when I say larger cameras, one camera a lot of people are talking about on the internet is the Panasonic GH2. This camera. This is about as small as an interchangeable lens camera can get. And this is with the 10x zoom. This is the Nikon with a 7x zoom. It's much smaller, much lighter. The lens retracts into the camera. So if you want to talk about a small run and gun kit that can give you high quality video and high quality stills, this is getting to look pretty darn enticing. And the cost is good too, because the cost of the camera includes the lens. Whereas with this one, if you want a different lens, you're now paying a lot more. So with that, let's take a look at the Nikon P7700. Now, a lot of cameras out there can shoot digital video now, and small DSLRs are all the rage. So there's a new area called Compact Enthusiast Camera. The difference with this camera is that it all fits in your hand, including the lens, and when you turn it on, the lens comes out, and once it wakes up, you can zoom the lens, and you can. It's all built in. It's all built into the camera. This camera has the equivalent of a 28 to 200 millimeter lens built in. It's an f2 to f4 lens. There's also a digital zoom, which will take you another 4x, but I don't really recommend digital zoom. And when you turn the camera off, it retracts into the body of the camera, which makes for nice compact storage. If you take the camera the next smallest DSLR, which is a GH2, with a 10x lens, you can see that the size savings and also the weight, this is about at least feels twice as heavy as this, and most of that's in the lens. Now, this compact little camera also features a tilt swivel display, so if you're shooting from above or below, you can tilt it around, or you can face it forward and put it on the back. There is no viewfinder. There is no viewfinder attachment like the Sony NEX cameras. This is just a flash shoe, and there is a built-in flash in here as well. Going for a walk around on the camera, you have your flash, adjustment for certain settings here, white balance, ISO, the quality level or the size of the image. You can change your display, your mode settings. So you've got custom movie, manual movie mode, PASM, and your basic mode. Your zoom and shutter. Your first user settable function key. The second one is here on the front. If you're looking at it this way, it's down here, and it's where your finger resides, so it's pretty easy to hit. You've got a user adjustment dial up here. You've got a user adjustment dial in the front, so if you're used to having two dials, that's handy. The power button is recessed. Nothing's really going to turn that on accidentally. You've got an aperture compensation mode right here, and it's nice and stiff. It's on the edge, but it's really not going to be moved accidentally. Auto exposure lock, playback. Get into the menu. You've also got a dial in back here, as well as the ability to adjust flash, macro, shut, self timer, and other parameters, and your delete button. You've got a decent sized grip. I'm not going to hit any buttons holding this, and the knobs at the top don't move very easily. You've got a little door over here for your HDMI and your USB AV out. On the bottom, your tripod mount is off center. It's not under the lens, it's off to the side, and it's very, very close to the door. It's literally, you put anything here, the door's not gonna open. That's just the way it is. Inside the door is your memory card and your battery. So once this is mounted on any sort of plate, in order to get to the memory card, you've got to take it off the plate. On this side, you have what they call a GPS adapter on the bottom here, and then on the top you have a 3.5 millimeter microphone jack. Yay! Which is why we are reviewing this camera. Is this a worthy alternative to the DSLR that Francis Ford Coppola liked? the GH2, because it's certainly a heck of a lot easier to use and move around. So once we turn it on, power light lights up. It takes a couple seconds. Still waiting. Okay, now we can do something. One of the things that always gets me is the trigger is very light. There's not much further after the half press before it takes a picture. So that's one of the niggling issues I have with it. Also, you can customize what these dials do, especially when you get into programmed auto or manual modes. You can set these dials to do different things. So let's go into manual mode. And so the front dial can adjust your f-stop, the back dial can adjust your shutter. You can reverse those, you can reverse the direction, you can make them do different things with the function keys. Like, for example, if I'm in program mode, one of the nice features of this camera is I have it set for a button, you can enact the neutral density filter. So I'm at 1/8 here. I hit the neutral density, it comes out, I'm at 1/30th of a second. So it's a pretty big jump with that neutral density. So if you're outdoors and you need to bring that f-stop down, just drop in the neutral density filter. I have it set to one button, which makes it very handy to get to. The other button I have set to continuous shutter and exposure compensation, which is a kind of a tricky thing in that if you adjust your exposure compensation, and here I adjusted it to +2, but this didn't change. So I can set this to -2. So here it says -2, and then over here it says +2. So I don't know how these two will work out. Will I get a properly exposed image? +2 - 2 = 0. Kind of an interesting conundrum, if you ask me. I wanted to walk you through the menu a little bit. There's a dial button on top, so we're going to go through the different settings here. So we push this button on top. Takes us to our movie options. Here you can see I've got 1080p 30, and it'll record 29 minutes. That's as long as it'll record. So the card I have in here is bigger than 29 minutes. So it's just telling you that the longest I can record here is 30 minutes, basically. And then you scroll, this will do your 1080p 30 at a lower quality level, 720p 30, VGA at 30, VGA at 120, which is cool if you want to do standard def but at 120 frames a second. And then you can do 720p 60, so you can get a little bit of high def slow motion, and then 1080p 15. There is no 1080p 24, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because you have all these other modes and they're very easy to set. The data rate is automatic. You cannot adjust the data rate of these different movie modes. You go to your rotate this dial, you go to your ISO. The ISO sensitivity for video is set, you can't adjust it. Your white balance, you can adjust your white balance to, let's set it to incandescent or fluorescent. Auto 2. Let's just go with Auto 2. You can fine-tune the color temperature here. Bracket mode doesn't apply to video. You can change your profile here as well. Now, once you set your movie options, tap the shutter and you're back out. Now it'll tell you 1080p 30 right here, how much running time you have left. It does not count up, it only counts down, so you don't know how long into the shot you are. Recording video is as simple as pressing the shutter. Now you're recording. Obviously it's flashing record, there is no media activity light. It's counting down, you can see at the bottom of the screen. It gives you a little progress bar, tells you your mode. There is no audio indicator. There is no, tells me I have the stabilizer on and my battery is full. If I hit the display, you can see that really nothing changes. This is the display when you're shooting movies. You're pretty much, you're focusing on what's in front of the camera and nothing else, changes. Rotating all the dials does nothing. So in terms of being a customizable camera, exposure compensation does nothing. Top dial over here does nothing. Even, let's see if I trying to put in the neutral density filter does not work. So once you're shooting, you're shooting. And again, this is the regular basic mode. Now we're going to exit the basic mode. Let me stop recording. And there we go. Now we're back out. We're going to jump to Movie Custom. Now I can set my exposure manually. I'm on white balance to CSM. There's my quality setting. I just double check that. I am at 1080p with the star, so that's the higher quality level there. ISO, white balance is auto warm lighting. And then here is where you can set, I want standard, neutral, vivid, and then even in standard you can enter that. You can adjust your contrast, saturation, image sharpening, and the other ones. So there is some customizability as to the looks that you shoot with this camera, just not with the data rate. So let's get back out of that. So we're here, white balance to 1/30th of a second. And it won't go any lower than 1/30th of a second in any mode. F2, F4, 5, 6, F8 goes up to F8 in the lens itself. Now, once you start shooting, okay, now we're shooting. This is, again, the manual movie mode. You can't adjust the exposure. It's rolling, it's dark, I can't do anything. Basically, it's not much different than the auto mode because, oh, I set the autofocus lock, there you go, that helps. But other than that, realistically, there's not much different except for the fact that, once I stop it, I can show you again, you can adjust your exposure. Now, it gives you a little bar at the bottom. There is no histogram. There is no audio level meter in the movie settings here. There's no histogram, which would give you sort of like an absolute, is this crushed, is this not crushed? What this bar down the bottom is telling you is the camera thinks, based on how the camera would expose this shot, I'm like 2 stops down. I'm a stop and a half down. If I put a piece of white paper in here, it says, oh, I'm exposed properly. My exposure, I mean, you know, my settings didn't change. It just says, well, the camera thinks this is exposed properly. It's not telling me, you know, given absolutes on a histogram or say on a video camera, a waveform, where everything is sitting. It's just saying, based on how I would expose this, you're too dark. So your only solution then is to shoot something brighter or add more light. You know, you basically have to, you know, take this under advisement, but understand what you're looking at in the shot. Is that how I want it to look? If that is how I want it to look, then that exposure meter down the bottom is not really relevant to me. So when you shoot video, once you manually set your settings with these 2 rotary dials, it will not change. You know, you can set them before you start the shot, but you cannot adjust them while you are shooting, which in many cases isn't a huge deal, but if you have, you know, a run and gun situation, you may need to adjust it as somebody's moving, as somebody's walking, as you pan, and that's just not going to happen in this little camera. But for a corporate sit down, put somebody in front of the camera, adjust your settings, hit record, you're pretty much good. The other thing you can't really do is you can't adjust your audio levels because you can't see them. Now, if you go into the menu, one of the things you can do, okay, in video mode, you have the microphone, but one of the things you can do is in the tool settings, you have your external mic sensitivity. Right now I have it set to auto. You can enter this mode. You can set it to auto, high, medium, and low. How high, how low? You can only find that out through testing. You cannot actually, as I said, see meters on here. So once you put it on medium, you hit enter. I'm on 2. You go back into this mode. There's my screen. The meters did not appear to let me know how loud the audio is to the camera. You have to record something and check it on a computer because playback in the camera through the tiny speaker inside is not going to give you an accurate assessment of how your audio is recorded in the file. And this has been my review of the Nikon P7700. This is a nice little camera. The fact that it has the lens built in, 7x zoom, has the built-in audio, really good quality stills and pictures. If it is a little sluggish, it's something you have to get used to. and the fact that you have to work out your audio solution, whether it be internal or external, to make this thing really work for you, that's up to you. But overall, it's a great quality package, very affordable camera, and overall, I really like this camera. My name is Anthony Barocas, and this has been my review of the Nikon P7700.